अस्सलाम वालेकुम व्यूअर्स। वो बातें तेरी चैनल पे नवीद फ़ारूकी का आदाब। मैं आज हाजिर अपनी पॉडकास्ट सीरीज़ जेन एक्स टू जेन जी के सिलसिले में विद एन अमेजिंग गेस्ट। शी इज़ अ फ्रेंड, अ लवली सोल, अ प्रोफेशनल वुमन, अ वुमन ऑफ सब्सटेंस। शी विल इंट्रोड्यूस हरसेल्फ। उनकी तारीफ़ें बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, बट लेट्स मीट नाहिद माशूकुल्लाह। नाहिद, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me and thank you for the kind words.
Thank you very much, Naheed, for coming and having giving us this honor to be to be here, and then we can hear your journey, and you can share all about your life, and then we will talk about Gen X to Gen Z as well in this podcast. But before that, would you like to please introduce yourself a bit, and then we'll go through your journey.
Okay, so the thing is that I've just come from a meditation class in which I've been told not to have labels. So I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. Um, I think in one sentence, I can describe myself as a seeker. I seek many things. Most of all, I seek stillness. And I have been seeking this for a long time. And when I started seeking it, I labeled myself as a restless person. And I have come a long way. I think I have seen bits and pieces as in my journey. And I ultimately want to find that complete space of quiet and what people term as happiness. Um, as far as what I do is concerned, I'm an architect. I designed people's homes, offices, restaurants, a lot of things. In fact, anything that is I find interesting is entertained in my firm, and we've been around I think since nearly 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been, my company has grown over the last 30 years, not perhaps in size, because I don't think having a larger firm really means that, you're more successful. But I think what we have done over the years is consolidated our staff and, our the people who work for us, the people who our extended family in terms of our vendors and our suppliers and even our contractors. We've kept it pretty trim because we find efficiency in that. I mean, and having a smaller, more efficient company is more meaningful than having just a large company doing a hell of a lot more projects. It's all not meaningful to me anymore. I love doing projects that I totally enjoy. I mean, really, each project should bring something to my soul. Yes, we do it for the money because we have to pay our staff and our colleagues, our partners, our associates. We have to pay all of them, and also have some for ourselves, maybe to
To live.
vacation.
Yeah.
I think that has become my priority, just to have good downtime. Um, but apart from that, I think it's also taking projects where there is something to be gained in more than just money. It's something to be gained in terms of learning, in terms of being with people that you actually like. Most of my clients are wonderful, and the light banter that we have before every meeting is so much more special to me than the actual meeting itself. I enjoy that interaction with them, and ultimately projects like that really turn out good, where the energy has been good all throughout, where we start with trust, and we start with a lot of a good kind of you know contribution. So in as far as I'm concerned, I would like to be very honest with what I give. So if I feel that it's dishonest or it doesn't really apply to that, it's just a picture that the client has seen on the internet and wants me to just copy it, and I feel it doesn't really apply. It for me, it's like in the yogic language, one of the prime things that we want to apply to our lives is satya, which is the truth. And if it doesn't really go with that, I am very hesitant to give it. So I feel that, all of these things put together makes me want to get up in the morning and go to work and enjoy that day. Not enjoy the evening after work, but enjoy the work itself.
That's amazing because see हमारे यहाँ normally ये होता है कि बल्कि जनरली होता है दुनिया भर में we are all battling through the work and waiting for the weekend.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, everybody that you meet, because we don't really like our work.
Yeah.
And then what you just said, that is totally opposite to what actually is. And if you find that relaxation or the passion or the charm in your work, day job mein,
Yeah.
then nothing like it then, you know.
Yes.
You wake up happy and then you sleep well.
Yes.
Unless you look forward कि जी छुट्टी कब होगी, घर कब जाएंगे, अयाशी कब करेंगे. Rather your अयाशी is at work.
Yeah, there are some of those days as well, to be quite honest.
I'm sure.
Some days when you're not really physically 100%, or maybe you've just had a problem that has taken its toll that you've had to solve in the day, then there is a level of fatigue and you want the day to then just end. But I think that's few and far between. Mostly, I think the energy is there till the end of the day and you come home charged and, you have a nice evening and then, like you said, a good night's sleep.
Yeah, that's amazing. Naheed, before we go to your professional and again your early life, I would want to ask you the question which is intriguing me. You mentioned meditation, and then also when you came in, I was just looking at ये शायद सो के उठ के आई है क्या? Because I know you and I know your energy, so you were so much in a zen phase, still
Yeah.
are, which is like, okay, now it is intriguing me more. So tell me about the meditation that you just had.
Okay, so it was by this a person who I've been with for a long time, and he doesn't do the guided sort of, the commercial meditations that you find on YouTube. These are very deep meditations,
Okay.
and they and it's all about the stillness at the end of it, and also realizing, who you actually are, your essence, and what we feel we are, we really not. These are all parts of a blueprint that we have developed, or we have accumulated over a period of years. So there was a question today in meditation, and the teacher asked me, so when I was born and you were born, what was the difference between us? Like, from a soul perspective or from an energy perspective, or like, was there a you or a me? I said, no, nothing. We were exactly the same. So when a soul is born on this earth, there's no difference, right? It's much later, as the child grows up, we accumulate all of this like a blueprint almost, your mind is mapped. Each one of us has a different mind mapping. And in meditation, it's all about peeling those layers. It's like almost like peeling an onion, one layer at a time.
Do you remember the 7 layers of existence?
No, I may not know that. But yeah, similar concept, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you said that, okay, कितनी देर की meditation थी आपकी?
So this was over an hour.
An hour. So you're saying that this is unlike any other meditation which is guided. So this is not guided meditation, and it takes you makes you deep down within yourself in a Zen state of nothingness, probably.
Yes.
And then so could you tell us briefly about it? What's the model, or how does it go? Breathing and everything. किस तरह की meditation?
So Yeah, we do start with breathing, and it's just because life is such that we are constantly on our cell phones, and our minds are never at rest at all. We always restless, and I myself have sometimes experienced when I look at my phone and there is absolutely no WhatsApp communication or even an email. I'm thinking, what's wrong with this world? Because we are so used to this. So-called routine of ours, so-called kind of life that we have. We've forgotten stillness, and stillness is what we are all about. I mean, our core being is all about stillness, right? When we are, and we all experience this. Okay, so in again the yogic language, when they say samadhi, samadhi is pure. It's the ultimate stillness, and have we experienced samadhi? So the answer is no, none of us have. But no, that's wrong. We have experienced samadhi, but in short
Was
spells.
that in a womb?
No, but in very short spells. I'll tell you when you have.
Okay.
I will tell you. So when you go, say, to Hunza or any mountain resort, that feeling of expansion, and it's like almost like you're buzzing with that high energy. That is what we need to aspire to have all the time, right? Or when you're looking at an ocean and just it's so immersive that you are one with the ocean. There's no duality. There's no you and the ocean. It's just
Just
almost
oneness.
one. And that is what our ultimate goal should be, to feel that at all times. But of course, it is not possible, but to have it as much as possible. And then from this space of stillness, or from the space of quiet that you have over a period of time developed, you uh, start thinking from that space. So like if I were to make a decision about a client or a meeting or a project, or if I have to think, start thinking from that space. So I borrow from that stillness and live my life. And it's a different life I would live than if I would live you know, from a space of ignorance, a space of just doing, and always trying to tackle my problems and constantly, firefighting.
So, Naheed, tell me about your spiritual journey. I remember a few years, not few, but at least a decade ago. I think that was when you were starting your spiritual journey, and I'm sure back then you had a lot of clutter in your life and in your system, but now I see a lot of serenity. So, are we like? I mean, as we say that, are we there yet?
No, you can
In,
never be there. It's a journey. But have I uh, come a long way? I think perhaps I have. Because I think you're referring to the time somewhere, well, I started around, say, 2010 or
yeah,
2009, perhaps.
yeah.
Because, and these kind of triggers happen when you have something major,
Life
which has
changing
life, yeah.
episodes, yeah.
And most times this happens is when that life-changing episode is a bad one, and you feel your whole world has fallen apart and people are judging you, and it's just an overall sadness that you feel. And one feels, how do I do it? And then, of course, there are all these ways that, you put any kind of social media on, and, YouTube, and they'll tell you exercise, and you read, and, books are given to you, and all of these things. But ultimately, it's your experiential journey that really gives you the answers, because you know what works and what doesn't. It's like a diet, really. You may try 20 different diets, like a keto and a vegetarian, vegan, whatever. But ultimately, you know which diet your body has adapted to, where, which diet has given you energy, and has also made you look good, but at the same time has not made you feel fatigue and tired and all of those things, which you don't want, the side effects of these fad diets. So you always, like, if you are a person who's aware of your own body and yourself, and you know what works for you. So even in a spiritual journey, I have actually, so my family lovingly call me a culty. I tend to go
Because
to.
you've
I
been,
have
I'm
tried
sure,
everything.
yeah, so you've been shopping around. I mean,
I have been
yeah,
shopping, and there's nothing wrong with that.
not at all. See, that's where you would not discover unless you go through the process of experimenting and then
Yeah.
finding the ultimate thing that you can connect with. And I'm sure you in that regard you're there.
So the thing is that I have gone to every spiritual guru, and all of them are good. I think none of them
I agree with you. Yeah.
all of them are good, because all of them had something very profound that has impacted my life. They taught me something that I still use. You know, and some of them are easy to understand. So for a beginner on this journey, maybe they should go to somebody who speaks in simple language. And if you have reached a certain stage in life, you can go to a more advanced guru. But you do need, I think, people who are teachers, basically. I don't think of them as coming in the way of my religion. Because I think they are just people who uh, articulate something you already know. We all know a lot.
Exactly.
We
And the
all
time
know
that we live
things.
in, it's a Google's world, right?
Yeah.
नहीं भी पता तो हम जरा सा type of fingers पे हम
Yeah.
ढूंढ लेते हैं.
Yeah.
But you're right, the teacher is something beyond that.
Yeah, they actually guide you in a very different kind of a way, where from their own experiences, they have a method which is very easy to understand. So when I was, in fact, very low in my self-esteem and everything, because of something that happened in my life, I used to listen to a lot of podcasts of Sister Shivani, for instance. And she's
BK
very
Shivani.
BK Shivani. She's really simple to
Yeah,
understand.
very simple.
I
And
and
nice
I
too.
would put it, yeah, and I would just put her on when I would
मैं तो उसकी तो सिर्फ वो कुछ ना भी मतलब आम बात भी करे ना, खाना
Yeah.
पकाने की भी तरकीब बता रही है ना,
Yeah,
रेसिपी बता रही है,
yeah.
I'd be like sleeping with that.
Yeah.
She's
So I would just hear a lot of her, and then I got involved in the art of living. There I learned a lot. I think they had a lot to teach me, and I discovered that there were other ways besides just knowledge that would give your body and mind a certain stillness, and that was they focus more on pranayam and breathing, and that taught me a lot as well. And then that I would always do yoga on and off, but that was my serious kind of an introduction into the
That was basically
yogic
your
world.
seed.
Yeah, my seed, I think, yeah. And so I don't really, I'm not involved with the Art of Living or the Shivani group
That's
or
okay, but
anything right
I
now.
just want to.
But they taught me when I needed, what I needed and when I needed
I'm
it.
sure.
And then there were many, many others, and
But I
so
want
the journey continues.
I want you to give me I have a question here rather. You mentioned that stillness and calmness and being with yourself. Since you mentioned art of living, I wanted to ask you, art of living में जब हम silence course किया, आपने किया, मैंने भी किए, आपने भी किया.
Yeah, we were together.
Yeah. So उसमें साइलेंस कोर्स में ख़ास तौर पे how did you feel, how was it for you, because उसमें कुछ allowed नहीं होता, बात नहीं कर सकते, apart from the fact that the one that you did in Nathia Gali, I heard that lots of people were talking and then using their phones, but I'm sure आपने नहीं use किया होगा, you didn't use your phone, and did you?
No, because when I do something, I put my soul into
Yeah.
it.
So how was the experience?
So the silence was fantastic, I think, and I do want to do more silence courses. I haven't had a chance to do it, but I do remember after I did the 3-day silence course, everything I looked at was through these. I even wrote it to my teacher at the time. I said, it's like looking at everything through a different filter altogether. It's like almost rose tinted
हर चीज अच्छी
glasses,
खूबसूरत
you
लगती है.
know. Yeah,
Everything looks
you know, it
beautiful.
just,
You
yeah, you
yourself,
just,
आप अपना आप भी बहुत अच्छा लगता है.
yes,
And then you come out. Tell me if I'm wrong. You come out as if you were just born.
absolutely,
है ना?
absolutely. You know, it is just go. You know, they just cleanse you completely, and they don't cleanse you. You cleanse yourself because
Absolutely.
you haven't spoken for 3 days, and that the kind of rest that your system
Yeah.
has got from it.
Not just spoken, but also not use any phones, not
Yeah.
phone any books, reading, nothing.
So what does that prove? That we cause this restlessness in
In
ourselves.
ourselves.
Ourselves, yeah,
And
we
then
do it,
also
right?
and also these outer जो बाहर की चीजें हैं, that
Yeah.
spoils us, that destroys our innate and natural being or
Yes.
natural self, which is
Yes.
again अगर हम naturally पैदा हुए होते और ये सब चीजें नहीं होती तो हम सिर्फ नेचर के होती और हम होते.
जी जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
So that's that. So I'm glad that you liked it, but I would recommend that if you have not done Vipassana, that's
Yes, I was just coming to that. I really want to do it.
yes,
I
10 days.
was, yeah, going to do. Have you done it?
No, I haven't done it, but I've done an offshoot of it, which is almost that. But and I have pretty much clear idea how is it, and that's amazing that you should do it, and that's great, and that is I think the thing.
Yeah, yeah. I really would
It's
like
tough
to do
also.
it. It is tough. And I did look at different places who were offering it, and then COVID happened,
And
and
you
then
know, one
after
more
that,
thing,
I
one more
didn't.
thing which
Well,
intrigues
yeah.
me or makes me a little excited about Vipassana, because this is the only school of thought which is commercially not, you know, they don't charge you anything for that.
Yes, I
You know?
agree. Yes, they
and
don't.
and everything else they have like
Yes.
lots of packaging and lots
Yes.
of you know
Yeah, it's
other
a
things.
transactional thing.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
this is different.
So
yeah.
this is just you pay for your only boarding and lodging, I think, and the rest is just free, which is
Yeah.
good. So yeah, again, your journey, a spiritual journey. You were talking about art of living, and where did you go after that?
Oh, then I went to many.
Acha.
Then I started like dabbling with the Sadhguru courses. I did those online courses.
Inner engineering,
and,
huh?
Yeah, yeah. But I then thought that everything was getting a little ritualistic, which was not my intention.
Yeah.
So I stopped with many of these things where I thought it was getting to be something that had to be done daily, and if you wouldn't do it, then there were-
Regimented बहुत था ना?
yeah, regimented. जब होता है तो then I get a little,
Same here.
I step back a little, which is regimented kind of courses are fine for people who need it, or they see the benefit in it, and maybe if I would do it, I would also benefit, but I don't have that mind for it, so I wanted to be what was comfortable to me, just do what is comfortable for me. So I kind of stepped back there. But after that, I actually went deep into just yoga. And yoga is not a physical practice at all.
No, it's
It's
a mental,
way-
emotional, spiritual.
Yes, but there's so much more, because even if you take the basics of yoga, it's asana is just one of the 8 limbs, and then there's 7 other limbs.
Yeah.
And each of the other limbs also have subcategories. Now, if we go deep into every category and subcategory, the answers are all there.
I know.
Or everything is there. So really, you don't have to, if you really do a study of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, that were written years ago, I think.
2000
in the
years, I think.
third or fourth century.
Yeah.
But so what Patanjali did was there was yoga happening, but it was very scattered. And what he did was he codified everything, and he got all of the information together, and he made the Yoga Sutras.
They kept it secret as well, right?
No, it was available to everybody, especially I think in the Nalanda school, during the
But
Maharaja
it was
Vikramaditya.
limited to certain region, I think, or maybe every region was doing it. I mean, I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I think it was open to everyone, but what happened was that because of the invasions of different groups on the subcontinent, that knowledge was lost completely. And it was much later that, people like Krishnamacharya.
Murti, Krishnamacharya Murti.
No, this is Krishnamacharya, the yogi.
Okay, the yogi.
I think that is J. Krishnamurti that you're talking about,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
philosopher.
Yeah.
So,
And this is before Maharishi and all?
Krishnamacharya, I think in the 19th century, he kind
Okay.
of got the whole thing back.
Okay. But he
Into
didn't
what
travel
it
to
is.
West.
And then maybe not, but
Okay.
then all his other, subject, like his
This
disciples,
is enlightening,
and
Naheed, and this is, I think,
Batavi
we need
Joyce
to,
and
we need to have a
Yeah.
totally new, actually, podcast or session with you on this information, because this is so interesting. But on that note, I think you have to tell our viewers also, you're a qualified teacher now.
So I just got my certificate like a few days ago.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, but something, I don't consider my teacher yet, myself as a teacher, because I feel that though I've taught a few classes, I feel that the knowledge is so vast that I need a few more months or at least a year more before I actually can conduct a class and be really confident in as far as giving information is concerned. So anybody can actually teach you an asana. It's
Yeah.
not difficult, or string together, certain asanas. So it's a very simple technique of doing yoga. You do a posture and then you do a counter posture, and so it's all about the forward bends and the back bends, and to keep it such that you don't injure yourself. So after a lot of hectic, maybe forward bends, you are always advised to do like a twisting posture. So if you understand the core, kind of sequencing, you can be a successful yoga teacher. And I think all these 1-month courses that you have in Thailand and all, basically, I mean, how much can you learn, right, in these courses? So they teach you the basics and you can come back and teach. But for me, I think I am one of those who really like to get
But
my hands dirty.
This is such a great news for me, because I remember 10 years ago when we were all learning to or becoming a teacher,
Yeah.
and you said that no, you don't want to be a teacher, and then recently I heard that you are becoming a teacher and you've become a teacher.
Yeah.
So what drove you towards becoming a
Yeah.
teacher? Are you going to be teaching?
So all my clients have been very amused, and they said, "Abhi kya karna hai tumko? Teaching karni hai, yoga sikhana hai, And I said, no, architecture is my first love, and I derive so much pleasure from it. But I think the entirety of yoga has fascinated me, not just the asanas. But in this course, we learned so much more. We learned Sanskrit, we learned Bhagavad Gita, we
Wow.
learned about the Vedantas. And, so there was a lot of knowledge that you need to be a good yogi.
Did you learn the chakra balancing, and then each chakra
Yes.
associated with the gland, and the gland associated
Yes.
with each organ, and,
Yes,
and
and
their
the
functions?
sounds.
Yeah, the sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
like the heart, Anahata chakra has a yum sound. So when you actually just like say yum, you keep doing that yum sound, you can feel your heart vibrating. So for
Yum. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and
Good.
Om is
Yeah.
the Ajna chakra. So it's for each of the chakras, like the Muladhara is the lam sound, and you can feel the vibration lam, So it's all very deep knowledge that the rishis over thousands of years have accumulated. And it has nothing to do with religion. It's not
Of course,
Hindu
no.
centric, so
Not at all.
I sometimes find people a little hesitant in our country, to kind of accept this knowledge, but I feel it's a universal knowledge.
It is.
And, it's just for the benefit of everyone. So why not,
It is. And then can you do the chakra balancing as well?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent.
That's
Maybe we
amazing.
should do a session together.
Yeah, we would actually. That would be nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have to have more sittings with you on this because this is such an addictive. I'm not addictive, but interesting information and knowledge. But we haven't discussed or shared
Yeah.
for a while. But I would like to have more sessions with you, private sessions, and to learn more about your journey in
Yeah.
this part. Viewers, I want to tell you something very interesting about Naheed. Um, lots of years ago we were doing a course. It was a very tough course, one of the toughest course, which is I found in spirituality, and I would say it was art of living का course था, was DSN. उस कोर्स के अंदर जो भी प्रोसेसेस थे बड़े लंबे थे. उस कोर्स के पहले दिन हमसे पूछा गया, उसमें 20-25 लोगों का हमारी क्लास थी, उसमें एक सवाल पूछा गया हमारे टीचर ने. और सवाल था कि आप में से कौन लोग हैं जो समझते हैं ज़िंदगी में उन्होंने कुछ किया है और वो अपने आप को समझते हैं कि उन्होंने कुछ बन गए हैं वो. तो उस क्लास में 20-25 लोगों में से 3 लोगों ने हाथ खड़े किए थे. उन 3 लोगों में से
I remember that.
उन 3 लोगों में से एक नाहिद थी, एक हमारी दोस्त है नीला दरबार, वो भी आएंगी इस पॉडकास्ट पे वन डे, और तीसरा मैं था. और मुझे नहीं पता हम लोगों ने अपनी अपनी हम कैपेसिटी में क्यों किए थे हाथ खड़े, लेकिन उसका हमें खमियाजा भुगतना पड़ा. वी गॉट टू रियलाइज़ कि हमने कितनी बड़ी गलती की, क्योंकि वो पूछा ये गया था और जब हमने खड़ा करके बताया या हम लोगों ने अपने बारे में बताया कि जी ये हमने किया और ये हुआ, तो नाहिद ने अपने बारे में बताया कि जी मैं आर्किटेक्ट हूँ और मैंने इतना अच्छा काम किया और इतने अरसे से काम कर रही हूँ. तो हमारे टीचर ने ये इस एलिमेंट को देखते हुए हम सबको उस कोर्स में इतना टफ टाइम दिया, बिकॉज उन्होंने कहा कि आप लोग ये समझते हो कि आप लोगों ने ज़िंदगी में बहुत कुछ कर लिया है, अचीव कर लिया है, कमा लिया है. सो आई टेल यू व्हाट इट इज़ लाइफ, एंड देन वी गॉट टू लर्न अ लॉट इन दैट.
And Anila is a neurosurgeon.
Yeah, she was the ace neurosurgeon, one of the
Yeah.
only female neurosurgeon, and she was one of them, one of us. मुझे तो छोड़ दे, and then she's an ace architect. So Naheed, coming back
That's
to,
why I was very careful when I introduced myself today.
I know.
didn't want to make the same mistake.
that is why I want to bring you here. So on that note, Naheed, I want to ask that how does it feel to be an ace architect, and which you are. I know you're humble, you would not say it, but and you don't only design spaces or houses. मुझे लगता है आप गृहस्थी बनाती हैं, घर बनाती हैं, home, you make homes, you make you make very comfortable and I would say humble abodes. So how does it feel? Obviously आपकी इसमें जर्नी है बहुत लंबी और स्ट्रगल होगी, मेहनत होगी, आपकी कॉम्पिटेंस है, आपकी एजुकेशन, सारा कुछ कंबाइन. How does it feel to be an ace architect in these times?
Okay, so how does it feel to be an architect? I don't want to use the word ace. The thing is that it feels good because it is really, so again, I go back to my learnings in yoga. Dharma is something that is really, from a spiritual perspective, something that you were meant to do on this earth. Okay, and I think that it is my dharma. My architecture is completely my dharma. I truly found my calling, and I wish that everyone on this earth, for all of them to find their dharma, because without truly loving what you do is a life wasted. So that way I think just by being there, by turning up every morning and just doing whatever it takes to make a home for somebody, or a commercial space or an office, I kind of appreciate the fact that I've been given that day and that opportunity to do that. And I think so there is gratitude in just that. But I think as far as my own design philosophy is concerned, it is again something that I feel, they always say that an architect or an owner, the design is an extension of their personality. It is true. It's a bit cliched. It is, but there is some truth in that, because, and a person, I feel, is not the same throughout their journey in life. So if you had asked me for my design philosophy maybe 10 years ago, the answer would have been completely different.
What is
And
it now?
okay. So today, when you ask me, it is making spaces to honor that stillness again,
Wow.
to honor that sense of quiet. And if I make a space which has an energy of chaos and confusion, I will never be able to live with myself. So every space I give should make that person feel 100%, make the user feel fantastic, high energy, and it goes true, especially for offices. Like, how bad would it be if I give a low energy space and have 100 people sit in that space day in and day out, come and they come from their homes, maybe with all the issues and problems, and children not being well, or wife having an issue with the mother-in-law or whatever, and coming then to a space and not feeling good in that space. You know, a space is something that is so integral to your wellness, so integral. And yes, there could be problems with your boss or your family or financial problems, but if you're sitting in a space which is giving you peace, that is kind of reversing the negativity that you're perhaps carrying with you from home, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, that is my design philosophy, to give everyone the ultimate high energy space. And in terms of textures, colors, the shape of the space, the amount of sunlight that it gets in, the airflow quality, the spaces need to breathe. The worst thing these days is to go to houses where everything has windows that can't be openable, or even if they are, the owners don't open it. And to compound the issue, they will put these heavy drapes so they don't let sunlight come in.
But how do you?
And
Sorry,
it's just too much for me.
I don't mean to cut you off, but how would you deal with the fact that okay, मट्टी आती है, क्या कहते हैं, पानी आता है बारिश का, and then security.
Okay, so we have answers for all of them. जहाँ तक मट्टी का concern है, I am now telling all my clients to use windows which are not, which are more secure as far as getting the dust in, and they are काफ़ी airtight. So we use more aluminum than wood.
Okay.
Wood has its, limitations. They're never really, especially with sliders, they're never really airtight, as far as you said sound, or
no, I said water.
Water. Yeah, so aluminum windows are fantastic. They're all sealed they're sealed very well.
And then finally, the security.
Now, security, we have good technology. The glass that we use is completely bandit proof.
Okay.
The first time this was introduced many years ago, maybe 15 years ago or something, I still remember the vendor had come to my office with this big sheet of glass, and he said, "This is bandit proof." I said, "How can glass be bandit proof?"
गोली मार के तो नहीं देखी थी आपने?
No, so he got me a baseball. I don't know why he didn't get a cricket bat. I got me a baseball. I still remember that, a baseball bat. And then I hit it for almost 15 minutes, but it made a little hole, but it didn't really break or shatter or would let anybody go through it. So we use a lot of, we only use laminated tempered glass. So there is an answer. And if a person is a little bit more concerned, then we would put other means of safety. But yes, the windows do need to be opened. They do. Fresh air, it's the ultimate of good prana. Or chi, or whatever you call. And we all feel that, right? There are days when our prana or our energy levels are so good. And then there are days when we've eaten right, we've done our exercise, we've even slept well, but the energy is low. So you need to really, it's all about self-awareness. Why do you feel that way, And I feel that your space is very, very important in terms of how it affects your prana. And sunlight being the number one, and airflow is the number one. And I think even higher than that is clutter.
Clutter.
Clutter. I cannot say much. And again, I would go back to my yogic learning. The word is apagriha, where we should not, or we should not be allowed to possess anything more than what we really need.
Exactly. अपनी पुरानी चीज़ों को रिसाइकिल करें, उनको दे दें, टूटी हुई चीज़ों को कभी घर में नहीं रखें, right?
Yes. And people have a habit of keeping electronic stuff which don't work.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to keep an old toaster that doesn't work just in case the new one gets spoiled and then the old one I will take to the workshop and get, like, why? And and then there are wires and leads and paper, like paper accumulation that really needs to go. Old documents and things that don't serve you anymore. So I believe in the Marie Kondo method where she says that, if it doesn't give you joy, don't keep it.
Don't keep it.
Even a little pin. So from time to time, I do a massive cleanup of my house and I do deep cleansing. So it's not just like putting my clothes back into, a neat pile. It's like looking at every piece of clothing I have or every stationery I have, opening every pin box I have, looking at what there is inside and then doing a deep cleanse. And that is like, I can't tell you how that feeling is just fantastic. And yes, it does tend to accumulate stuff, but I cannot emphasize on declutter enough, just to maintain a great healthy energy around you. My husband is just like he's on the he's way above me, so he's a complete minimalist. I'm not as far, I can't go as far as him because I do like my things, but he literally will not keep not even one little dot more than what he requires. So
so your design philosophy too have actually now become your spirituality being, so you've now synced in everything.
Absolutely.
Which is beautiful.
So what a good observation. Perfectly put. Sometimes I don't articulate this in my mind, but now that you have, it is perfect. Yes, you have to integrate. You can't have two separate lives, right?
Yeah.
It has to be one mind and one thought. And so that is the reason why, if you see my older design is very different from what I'm doing now, is because I have this, I have evolved as a person. And what you see in my new work is the new me.
Okay. Would you like to, for our audience also, give us an example so that maybe you can quote, for example, the old Naheed signature was that project and new Naheed signature project is this project?
So they're mostly homes that I come
or
to
home,
mind.
or maybe
but my
restaurants
old,
or office spaces maybe, which you can freely name.
Well, I mean, you've been to my old house and my new house.
Yeah.
So my old house had a lot of decoration. So it had, like, I would go to places like nursery and, pick up old antiques and, and I would think that would be, give it character, to my home and put, brackets and, little... go abroad, maybe to Thailand, and pick up cabinets and benches and, and like put all this effort into things. And now I don't at all. Like, whatever's available to me freely and easily is what I think should be mine. And what is not available to me freely and there's a struggle in getting it, don't have it. Maybe it's not for you. And then, I did, like, I'm saying this with a lot of hesitation. And when I say it to people, they kind of laugh at me and they even kind of judge me on it. But I'm one of those rare people who think about death almost every day.
Wow.
And it's not in a morose or
No.
depressed way. It is just to keep myself grounded, And when you think about death every day, you ask yourself, why do I need this? You
Exactly.
know?
Everything will you leave behind here, any possession that you have.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't buy anything. I'm not that esoteric yet. Maybe one day I'll get into my robes and but no, and I don't need to. It's all over there anyway. It's all in your
You're not a
mind.
brahmachari either, right?
Yeah, not yet. I'm not a brahmachari. But I have to say that, I have let go of many, many things in my life because of the fact that I do understand mortality and I don't fear it. So, it is what it is. If I don't have a tomorrow, this was my life and we need to spend it as well as possible.
Absolutely. So, your recent projects, something that I saw that you shared was in Natia Gali somewhere.
So we're designing for a client in Changla Gali. It's
Changla Gali.
it's on a lovely hilly slope.
Okay.
So it's got multiple levels, and we ourselves, like me and my husband, are actually doing a house in Hunza.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a little getaway for the two of us, and we do have a guest room for you.
Wow, thank you very much. I would love to come because that would be great. But
So-
Naheed, just tell me, now that you have a philosophy which is understandable and everything, but again, if you're designing it for a client, do you think your philosophy, I mean, does it matches or does it converges or it distracts with your clients? How do you convince them?
Okay, so there is always an in-between path.
Okay.
It is not ever black and white. Okay, so there are tons of grays that you can safely be happy with, both from the client side and my side. And I can't make the client do a house that I live in. Like if you come to my house now, even my art is white, my walls are white, the frames of the art are white, and so there's very little color but there's a lot of greenery outside, so it's got a lot
and
of
you're
glass.
wearing all white today.
And I'm wearing white. That is incidental. But if I tell my client I want to do everything white, they'll just throw me out, I think. So yeah, I do give color, but restrained palettes. And again, keeping that stillness in mind. So even if I am combining colors, it still needs to be quiet. It's still... the worst thing to do is have everything shouting at you, in terms of decor. I always tell my team in the office, have you heard the conversation between the sofa and the chair? And they think I'm mad. They said, what? Like, why? Yeah, I said, I can hear them talking. They don't like each other. They don't match, the fabrics are clashing. But yeah, that's the usual way I explain, is that everything needs to be harmonious, basically. And it needs to have a common thread binding and needs to be just like when you first look at it, you don't need to think whether you like it or not. It has to have a really nice appeal. Right from the get-go, you should not have to analyze a space. A space has to say it. Like, when you walk in, it needs to talk to you. So those are my goals every time I do something. But yes, we do make a little mistake here or there, but most of our clients are so nice, so lovely, that they always like, Naheed, nahi pasand hai na, chalo, hum change kar lete hain, so they do give me a little bit of, flexibility that way.
So, ये बताएं नाहिद कि आप clients का खर्चा कितना कराती? Are you like, if obviously I'm not talking about your fees, I'm talking about, are you like, when it comes to, any project that you're doing?
Yes.
So उसमें आपका जो equipment या materials ये जो लगते हैं,
जी.
so I mean, are you expensive in that way,
Yeah.
you manage as per budget, or I mean, how is it?
Yeah, so the problem here is nobody comes in with a budget. So nobody tells me, okay, we have only, falana budget and you have to work within that. Nobody. So one has to guess from the way
They talk.
they talk, and the conversation between the husband and wife, or conversation between the boss and the manager, or whatever. So you need to kind of make an general assessment. And yes, I think I do have a bit of a reputation as far as giving a little bit of an upscale job in terms of budgets. But I feel that the good vendors and the good contractors are what they are.
Yeah.
They have a quality, and that quality has longevity in it. So you may spend one time and cry, but you have a painless period of enjoying that item, or the furniture, or your windows, or your doors. And it's I hate it when I finish a project and I get those calls, which then they say कि ये टूट गया है और ये खराब हो गया. So I don't endorse vendors who I don't think can give you the quality. And of course, people who give quality are expensive. But no, I am very careful about unnecessary expense. Like, for instance, I have a client right now who wants to break. So there's this 30 feet balcony with, say, 16 feet of an overhang, and it is resting on a column. She wants to break that column because she wants a doorway there. We've given her so many alternatives. We don't want her to spend like that astronomical amounts just to shift the door by a few feet. But she's adamant. Now, in that case, we'll just let her have it. But mostly, we always give the cheaper alternative, because it's not correct just to waste money.
Yeah.
And especially now, I think, with all the,
Economical crisis,
economical crisis we're going through.
Yeah. So Naheed, would you want to name any project that you think that was very or is very dear to you, that you really was always going to admire it? I know every project is like your baby, and it's difficult. It must be difficult to name one.
So I think my involvement with the Expo 2020 was
In Dubai?
probably in Dubai, and it did win the second prize for
Yeah.
interiors.
So could you
And
tell
I
us about that? What were your role, and what exactly you did?
So we designed nearly 40% of the entire project, which was all the non-exhibition areas.
Okay.
So the Noorjahan Bilgrami did the exhibition areas, and we did everything.
How was you dealing with that? Were you dealing with her, or you were dealing directly with?
I was dealing with, not with her. I was dealing with Shahid Abdullah.
Okay.
And it was really an experience that will not ever be forgotten, because it was more than just a project, right? It was representing the country.
Yeah, and it was a huge on the
yeah.
scale of, international level, right?
Yeah, and it was not an easy project. It
I'm
was
sure.
a very difficult project, because it meant a lot of paperwork, something that we're not really used to, a lot of budgetary restraints, and constantly monitoring things in charts and diagrams. I had a lot of
Cost controls and everything.
yeah. So it wasn't just a design project. There was much more to it. But it was lovely. I think my colleague, my associate, was in Dubai for nearly a couple of months. I went there to set up the whole thing the last couple of weeks. And it was lovely. So we did all the restaurants there, we did the shop, we did all the collaborative spaces, like the meeting areas and everything. And we did the main auditorium spaces. So it was a lot, in terms of areas. And I think it was lovely, And I remember when the president came, he really appreciated everything. So yeah, I think that one project would be really close to my heart. It doesn't exist anymore, because it had a 6-month life.
Dismantled.
But I think that is part of why I love it.
Yeah, it's
Because
gone.
I haven't seen it. Everything has a life, right? And everything has some aspect where things deteriorate, our bodies included.
Yeah.
So we see it what we see, and that excitement when we produce something is so lovely. And then after, say, a year, or 10 years, when we see it, it's a little bit more like dilapidated, like not really, but yeah, it run down a bit. But this will always remain fresh, like it's a young project always, because it's in our memory.
एब्सोल्युटली एंड व्यूअर्स, अगर आप लोगों ने नहीं देखा हो ये दुबई पाकिस्तानी पवेलियन एट दुबई एक्सपो, ज़रूर देखिएगा, आपको इंटरनेट पे मिल जाएगा और हम भी आपके साथ कुछ तस्वीरें इसकी शेयर करेंगे. नाहिद माशूकुल्लाह का काम है उसमें, बहुत ज़बरदस्त काम है. मैंने भी जब देखा था तो मुझे बहुत प्राउड फीलिंग हुई थी. आई वॉज मेरा सीना फूल गया था. आई थिंक आई बिकेम 2 इंच टॉलर देन वो लुकिंग एंड ऑब्जर्विंग ऑल दैट व्हाट वाज हैपनिंग, बिकॉज पाकिस्तान से काफ़ी लोगों ने उसमें इन्वॉल्वमेंट थी.
Yeah. And it was very appreciated. Like, but, I mean, every person, not just Pakistanis.
दुनिया से लोग आए
दुनिया
थे.
से लोग आए. I mean, be it Americans, Europeans. I mean, there was global appreciation because it was so unexpected. Nobody expected Pakistan to do so well.
Yeah. So finally we had a good
Yeah.
image and impression. अच्छा नाहिद, मुझे ये बताइए कि before I go, would you have some pictures with us to share that we can put it in this podcast of this Dubai
For
Expo?
Pakistan, yeah, I can give.
Naheed, would you like to name an architect who you think that inspired you in any way?
So I'd have to say Yasmin Lari, because she was the first person I worked with when I came from India.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you learned a lot from her.
I did.
Okay.
I have
While
to say.
working, how long did you work?
I worked with her for 3 years and part-time a little bit more, so maybe 3.5.
And the funny thing is, Naheed, that you mentioned Yasmin Lari that you worked with, जहाँ से आपने सीखा या जहाँ से start किया. I know a person who worked with you initially, पहली, और वो मेरी दोस्त भी रही, उनके साथ मैंने project भी किया. Now she is established architect. I'm talking about Moina Niazi.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So that's that. अच्छा, तो Naheed, I now want you to tell us about your struggles and also your journey. You were born in India, raised in India, and educated in India. So how was your life in India, and also from Gen X perspective, that when you were growing up, there was no technology, और हमारे ज़माने में जैसे कुछ भी नहीं था. हम लोग वॉक करते थे या साइकिल चलाते थे, एंड देन स्कूल, कॉलेज, यूनिवर्सिटी में टीवी भी कुछ नहीं होता था, और देयर वाज नो सेल फोन, नो इंटरनेट, नो कंप्यूटर्स. सो हाउ वाज योर लाइफ ग्रोइंग अप एज एन स्टूडेंट?
So it was like everybody else at the time, I suppose. Yeah, we didn't have all these fabulous playthings, electronic toys. But I think that was great because I was out playing with my brother's friends all the time. So
What did you
there
play?
was, I did. I played cricket, hockey.
Wow.
I cycled, football. We played board games. And they were mostly my brother's friends. So there were a ton of boys. And we had one cousin who was a girl. And we were always together. And because in India, I mean, the buildings are pretty close by to each other. We just go into the balcony and scream their names, and they would just appear on the balcony. And then we
This
tell
was
them,
Bombay?
come. Yeah, in Bombay. And then we just tell them, okay, come over.
Okay.
And it was so easy. There was no cell phone. There was literally a voice.
Yeah.
And we'd scream their names. And they would just come over. I mean, and that was, I think, the best childhood.
So growing up was like Naheed was like a little tomboy?
Yes, I would say that. Yes.
Wow, lovely. And then would you listen to the music? हम लोग तो सारे Bollywood music के fan हैं. तो I'm sure growing up in Mumbai, तो वो Indian film की और music की तो influence होगी.
Yes, I think there was no choice, right? I mean, there was Hindi film music all around. So yes, you were very much into all of that. But also me and my brother were very tuned to the Top of the Pops, which was beamed by the BBC every Thursday afternoon. So we would tune on to that.
So the 80s music is still there, within us.
And
All
it was
those Cyndi
lovely.
Lauper and Wham and the Queen and all those
So we
bands.
knew which was number one, and
और
so
Top of
that
the
was all
Pops
them.
तो उस ज़माने में VHS पे भी बहुत आते थे, उस पे भी देखे जाते थे. So did you have any favorite Indian movie or star back then?
I think as far as women were concerned, I loved Zeenat Aman for some
Wow.
days.
Yes, she was a diva.
Yeah, she was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And
then
just,
men heroes जो हमारे होते हैं,
so
राजेश खन्ना, विनोद खन्ना, अमिताभ बच्चन, anyone?
I did like Vinod Khanna
Vinod
actually.
Khanna.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. Shashi Kapoor I liked.
oh
for
my
some
God,
reason.
Shashi Kapoor was handsome.
It's very handsome.
Yeah, it's dashing.
Yeah.
गोरा लगता था पूरा.
Yeah,
It was, I mean, and उसकी acting भी और film भी बड़ी अच्छी होती
Yeah.
थी. That's great. So, no technology, and then what made you study in architecture?
So I always was a painter. Like in my class, when I was young kid, I painted a lot, and I was good at it. So I was always chosen to represent my school, or even when I went to college, I represented my college as far as painting competitions were concerned. Like this is junior college, and then when we had to decide what we wanted to do. There were not so many avenues, right? There was just science, commerce, and
Medicine.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, science,
That's-
commerce, and that's it.
No, and arts.
And
so,
arts, yeah.
So where you could do literature or whatever. So I chose science because if I did science, I would have many choices. So after I did my science, I said, now what do I do? I spent 2 years of science, and did my difficult exams. So I might as well make use of it and do architecture. And I was always fascinated by buildings and interiors and all. I always was. In fact, when I was a kid, I remember asking my father for 3,000 rupees, and I took that 3,000 rupees and I bought curtains, a new bedspread. I had my room painted, and I kept to that budget. I redid my room, and this was, I think, in 1982, maybe
Wow.
1982, and I did my entire room with a rug and everything, and that there was this person called Shah Mahuja. He would do all these lovely pastel colors, for rugs and fabrics and everything. And I remember after I did it, I looked around like at the sense of achievement. So I think I always had it in me.
Okay.
And I actually loved like dollhouses, and I would beg my father for a dollhouse, and he would never give it to me. So only when I was 11 years old, I put my foot down and as I need. And at that time, all kids were growing out of dollhouses. Like, which 11-year-old would like a dollhouse, right? Like, but me, I was so denied and deprived of a dollhouse when I was younger. I just said, no, I want a dollhouse. And then I would spend hours putting the furniture in and, redoing the spaces inside. I will never forget my dollhouse.
Wow. And what did your father do?
He was, mashallah, an advocate in both the High Court and the Supreme Court in India, in Mumbai.
Wow. And how many siblings do you have?
So I had a brother. He passed away when I was only 18 and he was 19. And then and miraculously, God gifted us with my mother, another child.
Okay.
And so my sister is now 21 years younger than me.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's lovely. She lives in India.
Okay.
In Mumbai. Yeah.
And so you went to university, JJ,
JJ College of Architecture.
Yeah, the JJ
Yes.
College of Architecture. Is that an
Yes.
IIT of architecture?
It used to be, I think, but there are way better schools now.
I saw this video actually on IIT, and apparently, IIT is supposed to be the world's #1 institution which creates better than MIT or Harvard or Princeton. Any other.
Yes, I think
वहाँ
that's
के जो
correct,
इंजीनियर्स
yeah.
हैं वो इतने ज़बरदस्त होते
Yeah.
हैं और जो उनका सिलेक्शन क्राइटेरिया है दैट टू इज़ वेरी टफ एंड पता नहीं
Yes.
कितने हज़ार लोग अप्लाई करते हैं, वेरी फ्यू गेट्स द एडमिशन.
Yes, that's
एंड देन
correct.
उसके जो ग्रेजुएट्स हैं इंडिया में और दुनिया भर में देर आर द
Yeah.
टॉप पोजीशन. सो
Yes.
जेजे का बताइए.
JJ was a beautiful experience. I really enjoyed myself there 5 years. Made lifelong friends. And yeah, I still go back to Mumbai quite often. And it's a pleasure to, rekindle.
सो आपने डिड यू आपकी पहली जॉब इंडिया में थी या यहाँ थी?
Nee, I got married as soon as I graduated. So
Okay.
my first job was with Yasmin Lari.
Okay, great. So, how was the struggle, or rather battle, I would say, कि इंडिया से पाकिस्तान आना और यहाँ establish करना, यहाँ रहना? How was it? I would say this transition rather.
Yeah, so I never really regret any decision I make in life. That's one thing about me. I never go back and I curse myself about why did I do this. So when I came, it was very different. I agree, and it wasn't like right now is different, but back then it was very different. So
Different
I
in a
had
different
to,
way.
yeah, the way I dressed when I went to work. Right now, I can wear a pair of jeans and go to work, and no one would
Yeah.
like really say anything, right? But that there was more protocol at that time, and I had to adjust myself because I was a person who would always be wearing short skirts and all over there. So it was a little different over here, and but I adjusted to that. And I think my main the reason why I kind of slipped into a Pakistani pattern was that I started working almost immediately.
Okay.
So I got into a system. And when you get into a system and a routine, there is no time for anything else, right?
But
So,
what made you work? I mean, work. You could have not worked, right?
yeah, I could have taken some time off
Or
and
or
all of
just
that. Yeah.
you could have been a house lady by yourself.
Yes, but that was never the intention.
Yeah,
So when I was,
that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. That's what drove you to be working.
Yeah, so
Well,
when I
I'm
was
sure it was not because of the money.
no, I don't know. Maybe it was. So when I was a kid, I still remember when I was maybe 8 or 7 or 8, everyone would, you know how aunties are, they would
Yeah, yeah.
always ask the little kids, so what do you want to be, when you grow up? And I would always say, I want to be a career girl.
Career girl.
So I think that kind of, it became a part of my persona that I needed to work and do well. And I always dreamt of doing extremely well. That was like, and every night almost when I went to sleep, I may have inadvertently manifested it without knowing it. But that was my way of going to sleep, that I would be very good at what I do and I'd be famous almost. And now when I talk to spiritualists, they say, but that's the best time to manifest is when you're slipping into sleep. I said, but I did that all my life. And perhaps that made it happen. I don't know. I really don't know. It's for me, it's something very.
So you
know.
knew law of attraction.
I didn't
On,
actually.
no, I mean by default. I'm saying,
By
but
default.
but not knowing it,
I
but you
didn't
knew
know
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were manifesting it.
I
all along.
was.
Yeah,
I was.
that's
I
beautiful.
think, yeah.
So how much was your first salary? Do you remember by any chance?
Oh, it was, I think, 1,500 rupees or 2,000.
And that is
That was nothing even at that time.
I'm
It
sure,
was
but which year
nothing.
was it? I'm talking about
1985.
Okay, huh?
It wasn't. And I still remember, Florence used to have, Florence
Yeah.
of Cafe Flo.
Yeah.
She used to have this lovely boutique, and I would go and admire all the outfits there and would really want to buy it, but I could never afford it
Okay.
on my salary. And one time I did buy something which I still remember the tag. It was 860 rupees or something. I get it. It's almost like my entire salary.
Wow.
And I wore it and I was pulling and pushing it. And my husband said, I know why you're doing that is because you're feeling buyer's remorse, because you've spent so much money. I said, yeah, I worked so hard just for this outfit, And another time when I went for a haircut and they said it would cost you 900 rupees, I walked out. And they said, and they judged me and they
Was
said,
it Shaheen Saeed?
I don't remember where. It was somewhere in a 5-star hotel. And
Tariq Amin probably.
and so they said, so you're walking out because you can't afford it? I said, yes, I can't. So, those were the days of the struggle.
Wow.
And yeah, so it has been
So you've come a long way, Naheed, huh?
Yes.
Now you have that status of signature celebrity architect.
I don't know. I just do my job. Yeah.
That's great. How do you manage to survive in these times? And do you think that you've done well as far as dealing with Gen Z and also using all the technology and being around with the technology?
So as far as Gen Z is concerned, I think they are very talented. Like
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, they are just buzzing with ideas and they're so good. I think a person like me can just complement what they do because they have different points that need to be taken into consideration. And I have a completely different fortitude, you know. So I think the combination of the two really works well, at least for me. So I have a lot of young people who are quick and, they are so good with, technology. And I have to admit, I'm okay, but I haven't really pushed myself into technology because I have them, right? And they're so fast. So I've taken the struggle away from my life. So I still do the old fashioned sketching and I give my sketches to them and then they make all these beautiful. But on their own also, I think they come up with brilliant ideas. And I mean, really, I have no complaints. I think the two, when they get together, it's magic. On their own, they can do well too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
So
really.
how's your relationship with your children?
Oh, I think there's mutual respect
Okay.
and love,
That's great.
which is, yeah. I think the
Do you-
respect is the main thing. Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever get to hear from them, khas taur pe, Mama, you're old. Yeah, Mama, you don't know this. Something like that? Because,
I used to when they were younger. I
Yeah.
think when they were in their teens,
yeah.
they loved to do that.
You know?
They loved to put me down.
Yeah.
You know, and they used to gang up with each other. They're 5 years apart.
Yeah.
My son is 5 years younger than my daughter. And they would completely gang up on me and, really diss whatever I had to say. And ha ha ha, she said this, you know. And I just didn't know how to, I would laugh it off, you know, but I sometimes would feel a little bad. But I think now it's just
just
different.
him.
Yeah, I think we respect each other's space and it's
But Nahi, do you think that when we were young, or when our back then in our times, our parents or grandparents, we felt that they were of the view that they had certain mindset. For example, if they were to listen, they were coming from the generation when they used to listen to the radio or watch black and white movies, so they would stick to that and they would not be ready or as comfortable as we are to adopt the technology or keep up with the generation and all that. So I mean, how do you agree with
It's
that?
a great question. I think it's not just technology. Our parents, our grandparents had a narrow vision for everything, I
Yeah.
think. You know, I mean, I loved my parents, don't get me wrong.
I love to. I
Yeah,
love my
but
parents
they
too.
had a very narrow vision with relationships, with the situations, just about political views, everything, like social views, everything had to have a formula which they had learned as
Exactly.
a kid, right? They wouldn't be able to process anything beyond that. Whereas I think our generation is extremely happy to do it. We love to see new ideas. We are kind of admire people with a different perspective, and we are happy to adopt if we feel convinced that this can be useful to us, which is fantastic. I mean, that ability, I think, from our generation onwards is very much there. And I'm not talking about the few individuals who are still stuck in time, but I think most people, like my friends, for sure, I think have a very broad vision. Yeah.
So I was telling you that मुझे Naheed हमेशा I felt that even not as a kid, as a younger boy or man, I tried my extreme best to impress my father for whatever I was doing or whatever I did. But it was very tough to impress him. You know, that I would hear that, wow, you know. But I remember my son or my daughter when they were little kids, even if they were to draw lines, I would be like so impressed. I would hang those drawings and
Yeah.
make them feel great.
Absolutely.
So that's the difference, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, like a really small kid, I think maybe 4, but this memory cannot be erased because it gave me so much stress at that time. I we used to have these drawing books in my school, and everyone drew pots of flowers and, with a little, flower on it and the stem and leaves, and typical, all kids had the same thing. Whereas I actually did very abstract designs, and I did something so unique, which I thought was lovely, and when the teacher saw it, she just yelled at me. She said, "What is this?"
Exactly.
And I still remember getting the book home and taking an eraser and erasing everything. And obviously, the paper was a very cheap quality, and the
Phad
eraser
jaoga.
it was all tearing. And
Yeah.
I still remember sweaty, hot, and as a child, like a 4 or 5 year old child, having to go through that just to please the teacher. And and what she did, she will never know. She really cut my creativity at that time, because
It's
I didn't was not like the others. So
Yeah,
you
so
had to go in a
even
box at
so,
that
it's not
time.
just the parents, but the teachers also. I remember one of my teacher, maths ka teacher, I think I was not even. I think it was class 10, and he said in maths class or something to me, "जिंदगी में तुम कुछ नहीं कर सकोगे," and
Wow,
and
that's
and I cried that night, and I used to cry with what he had said, because I couldn't even tell my friends or parents, because I thought that I would not be. But
yeah.
these were the things. Now, no teacher, no
No.
parent could say such things to anyone, right?
No.
And I don't know what they had in their heads. They were teachers, for God's sake. So
Yeah.
did you felt this? You must have felt the same, right?
Absolutely. School was not very experimental, or I didn't encourage individual creative thinking. So, or critical thinking, or, it just did not encourage. You had to confine. You had to confine to what their prescription said. And they prescribed a certain way, and we all had to follow. I think things are changing now, like you just said, and for the best. There's still old-fashioned norms. Some schools are
Yeah.
still, yeah,
But do you think that
following.
we were deprived of certain things? Not because I'm not saying because of financial means. I'm just saying otherwise.
Yeah, I think we were deprived of an opportunity to grow
Yeah,
to our full potential.
yeah,
You know, I mean, that's the huge difference I find in a child that's grown in the West to, like, especially our generation,
yeah.
to, what we had to really come out, in the sense that really work for our confidence and, just generally our own way of thinking and, answering accurately, simple things like that. Whereas that it's very normal for a child who's grown up in the West is to, come out with what they truly feel. Whereas we are so scared. At least we were as kids, we couldn't really express freely
Not at all.
because we were scared that, people wouldn't like it.
Naheed, did you ever fall in love as a child or as a teenager?
I I think crushes happened, but I
देखो
was
उस
not.
ज़माने का तो प्यार और इश्क भी ना यही
Yeah,
होता था कि आपको हो गया बस, that's it,
yeah.
and
You
then you
never.
make a note or you write a letter to
Yeah, it was
yourself
all
or
in your own
something.
head.
Yeah.
But I met my fiance when I was only 19.
Okay.
And before I knew it, I was parceled off to this country. So I did insist to my then mother-in-law that, like, look, I need to finish my architecture. So I insisted on that, thank God, because at that time the education in architecture was not up to par. Now it is. Now
Okay.
it is. Now we have lovely educational institutions, but at that time it wasn't. And I'm so glad I made that decision. And then when I was 23 is when I actually got married. So I had a very long engagement period. But yeah, so about love, it didn't really, yeah, I didn't.
Okay. So living or growing up, जो भी ज़माना था आपका हमारा भी था. I come from a very humble family background, and I asked this question to myself, and I'll put forth to you. आज जो luxuries और जो lifestyle है आपका, back then जो था, how do you see it if you were to live in a place where there's no AC, maybe no car, how would you be able to survive, or how would you manage it?
That's a good question.
Because
yeah, I did not have an AC when I was growing up.
I didn't either.
And the car
None
was,
of us didn't.
yeah, it was like our family we had a family building, so
Okay.
a house. So, all
Upar niche
cousins
sare
and
रहते
yeah,
हैं, हाँ.
upar nana, nani, everybody stayed in the same building. And so we shared it was a carpool.
Okay.
So we
गाड़ी में भी AC नहीं होता था.
गाड़ी में नहीं होता था.
नहीं.
Those were the days of the Fiat and
Yeah,
Ambassador in
yeah.
India. And so, yeah, I didn't grow up with the luxury, but we did have an AC. So when it got really, really hot, I
Okay.
think Daddy allowed us to put it on.
Okay. But must have been one AC in the whole household, right?
We did have an AC in every room, but we were not allowed to put it on because of the electricity bills.
Okay.
But having said that, you get so accustomed to then the luxuries
The
in life,
norms.
and always having a car and a driver and AC, and just being like complaining when it's too hot and all of that. So one has to, I think, strip this from time to time, and I think one of the instances that I can think of where I actually strip it down to zero almost is when in 2017 my husband and me decided to summit the Mount Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
And it was a 9-day expedition with nothing. I mean, literally, it was, I thought maybe by the 4th or 5th day, the temperatures would get sub-zero, but it was right from day one. It was so cold. Literally, I remember I used to wear 7 layers on the top and 5 layers on the bottom. And we used to get a small bowl of water that was, it was not even full. And it was lukewarm water. It was just enough to take a little towel and wipe yourself down and wipe your face and everything. And the food was not bad. But apart from that, even toilet facilities, like literally I thought the toilet would just take off because it was always tilted with all that wind blowing on the mountain. And it had a zipper, and then with your very cold hands, you had to open it. And it was, I can't tell you. I mean, so I think I needed to do that so that I can now take the 16-hour journeys when, PIA doesn't take off to Hunza. I don't mind going to bathrooms that are really not nice.
Yeah.
And so, you have to, from time to time, strip yourself from all luxury to come down to the basics. And then you start appreciating everything you have. So you start really living in true gratitude,
Exactly. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What's your favorite khana, food? What kind of food you like?
Oh, I just love food.
I know, that is why I want to ask you.
I love all kinds of food, but I just love avocados, for instance. So for my perfect breakfast would be avocado on sourdough bread.
Okay.
And lunch, I love salads. And dinners, anything really, but warm food then, because my cook is really good. So he makes desi.
Desi khane mein kya pasand hai?
Desi khane mein, actually I love biryani.
Okay. Do you like aloo in your biryani? Do you like aloo in your biryani?
Which biryani?
Do you like aloo in your biryani?
Oh my God. If there's no aloo in the biryani, I don't have it. Don't touch it.
Oh my God. But biryani ke aloo has a total, science to it.
Soaked into all the masalas.
It's juicy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Aloo in the biryani, it has to be there. But I love things like prawn masala, anything with chili. So I'm a chili gobbler. I just it goes against all yogic practices because it's terrible. It increases the pitta in the body and all of that.
Did you become vegetarian for a while?
I did.
We all did,
I was from 2017 after my Kili climb. I came down and then I became a vegetarian till I think earlier on in this year when I changed because I had a really bad backache for the longest time. So when I consulted my Ayurvedic doctor, he said, reintroduce a little bit of meat because maybe and because I was used to having proteins all my life, ekdam se when I stopped it, maybe, I don't know why I had the backache for so long. But when I started having a little bit of meat, it did subside.
What's the one restaurant that you would recommend that one should go to see your architectural work in Karachi?
So these days we've not been doing too many restaurants. So
What
the
was the
ones
last
that
one?
I think the last one was
Colette?
Xander's. No, Xander's in Bukhari was
Acha,
probably the
ये वाला?
last one. Yeah.
Uधर East Street.
Elanto we did years ago. We did the original Xander's as well.
Okay, original.
Yeah, the
Xander.
Clifton one
Yeah,
also
yeah.
we've done. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done two.
Zabardast. What do you think about change, Naheed? Change, the term change.
There is only change. I mean,
That
it's
is-
the
that
be
is-
all and end all. Of
Yeah, that is
It
the only constant thing
that
happening.
is the only constant. And I feel, I have personally seen some really miserable people, really, really. And my heart goes out to them. And I've really tried to, kind of help them or, just by my own knowledge, what I have acquired. But that I cannot. Because the one thing that they have not been able to accept is change. And when one is so resisting change, there's nothing beyond that then. There's nothing anyone can do to help you to get over what your feelings are. Because if you say, no, I want it as it was, nothing can be as it was. Nothing. Your every day our cells are dying, new cells are getting made. We are changing every single day, everything around us is changing. So why do you want the situation to be the same? It's not possible. And when one accepts change, then it is like almost the only thing that can, if you understand it truly, it can, take you to higher levels of evolution.
So change or transformation? How do you see those?
Change is something that is happening around you. Transformation is something that you yourself are
So is Naheed has been
instigating.
transforming?
I think it will be a wasted life if any of us don't at least try.
Okay.
It will be a complete waste of life.
So how do you see Naheed 10 years from now as far as evolving is concerned or transformation is concerned?
Well, 10 years from now, hopefully I'll be, even if I am working, it'll be at a much more, slower pace maybe. And I have a lot of hobbies, so I really want to give time to that. I love to paint. So I love watercolors. So yeah, I would love to spend more time. I don't get enough time to do it, or just more knowledge in yoga teaching maybe. So yeah, maybe look for different avenues because I've done this now for almost 40 years, architecture and interiors.
So do you love Pakistan? You've been here for
yeah.
in Karachi so many years.
Absolutely. I identify myself as a Pakistani. Even when I go to India, I though my formative years were spent there, I can't identify myself as an Indian at all. I mean, I enjoy India. I enjoy the energy there. It is nostalgic. And anything nostalgic gives pleasure,
Yeah.
If it's associated with a good memory. So food over there, for instance, I love going there just to eat the food, meeting my friends, going to the old places I used to visit, all of that. But as an identity, it's completely Pakistani. I may become Canadian in future because my husband's Canadian, but I will never lose my Pakistani identity. It's been too many years and too many experiences. And yeah, it's the country I love.
And then what about Karachi?
Karachi is,
They say that, as my daughter
Yeah.
also says that. Karachi has some energy or vibration
Yeah,
which no other place in the world has.
absolutely. I think,
And जिसको कराची एक दफ़ा पसंद आ जाए या रह ले तो उसके लिए मुश्किल होता है कहीं और रहना.
yeah, I truly, this place, for whatever it's worth, and we do have a lot
हालांकि
of
we
issues.
have lots of issues, yes.
Yeah. I think, it
Do
is
do you get
love.
water in your house?
No. Ask me if I get gas.
No, I don't either. So,
Do I have a generator? Of course.
yeah.
But the thing is that it has friends.
Oh yeah.
And
The
it
air,
has-
the
it's
energy.
the
Yeah.
home, and people know you here. It's the familiarity. And all of that counts for so much more than not having water and gas. So
But do you think that familiarity, you said familiarity, breeds contempt?
not in this. I think that's more to do with a one-to-one relationship or something here. And
In relationship, you're saying that it does?
if you're not careful,
Okay, so one has
if you're
to
not,
keep
yeah,
on
keep it fresh.
rekindling and
Keep
transforming.
it, yeah, all the time. Work on it. They don't take a relationship for granted at all.
So could you tell
Keep it
our
fresh.
viewers that in order to have a successful relationship that you just said, how one should be keep on doing it for the young generation, khas taur pe for generation Z?
Yes, when you eat on the dinner table or the lunch table or breakfast, wherever, when you're eating, keep the cell phone away.
Okay.
I think the worst thing that young people are doing, I mean, sometimes when I go to restaurants, I mean, they all these young people sitting and they're all on their cell phone. So that's one thing that's a complete no-no. It's forbidden in our house. When we are eating, we are all ears, we're talking and all. I think that's like take baby steps like that. Give each other space at the same time. Give your partner that hug that just before saying goodnight, or the little things, they account for everything. And keep it fresh. Do take that special vacation, or something that keeps it going and keeps it alive.
Okay, thank you. This is great because this is a great advice because हमने देखा है relationships are very sensitive and we as a human beings we get busy so much into lives and struggles and battles and financial and economics of things that we forget our relationships and loved ones.
Yes.
उनको हम नहीं इतना तवज्जो दे पाते and that is why the contempt जो है वो arise होने के
Yeah.
chance होते हैं.
Yes.
So Naheed, I had asked you this in the beginning of our conversation. I'm going to ask you again. What is life to you? In a very simple words or basic. Zindagi kya hai?
For me, I don't have the capacity in my mind to see life beyond what I can experience today. So I try not to look so much in the past. And for me, I'm not capable of planning too much in the future. So if you ask me when I was younger, they would ask me, so what is your ambition? What do you want to be? And I don't have the capacity to think that way. So every morning when I come to work, I do the best I can for that day. I do my exercise. Whatever needs to be done, I do. And then the effect of it I see later. So I see that my body is, even at my age, I am got energy. I can do a lot of things that in the gym or on my yoga mat that possibly, people have given up at my age. So I live for today. That for me, life is this moment. There's nothing beyond.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any quote or any mantra to life? Or even generally, any quote that you remember? कोई याद है?
Yeah, I really like the quote. What is in the way is the way.
Wow. What is in the way? What is in the way is the way.
Is the way. Yeah.
Wow. ये किसका है quote?
I don't know.
जिसका भी है जबरदस्त है. I am like okay.
Yeah, because you consider these as obstacles, right?
Yeah.
But that is the path that is ordained for you for that time. It was the right thing for you.
Yeah. Naheed,
However disastrous it was, like
Yeah.
yeah.
So one last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. You said that you, at certain point of time in life, that you were struggling and battling. And would you like to tell our viewers कि हर किसी की ज़िंदगी में एक पॉइंट आता है जहाँ आपको ज़िंदगी आके एकदम से झटका देती है और चेंज होना होता है या हमें रियलाइजेशन होती है, अवेकनिंग होती है. बहुत सारे टाइम के लिए बहुत सारे लोग नीचे चले आते हैं, डिप्रेशन में चले आते हैं, कुछ लोग मेडिसिन्स पे चले जाते हैं, कुछ लोग ड्रग्स पे चले जाते हैं, कुछ अल्कोहल पे चले जाते हैं और कुछ लोग बहुत ज़्यादा डिप्रेस होकर शायद बीमारी में भी मुब्तला हो जाते हैं. सर्टन काइंड ऑफ ब्लड प्रेशर है, डायबिटीज़ एंड ऑल दैट. सो व्हाट डू यू have to say, since you yourself, you said that you went through something in life, but it took a while for you to,
Yeah.
come out of it.
I think the people get into a victim mentality.
You did too?
Of course.
Okay.
When you're down and out, that is the first thing you clutch on to. You become a victim, right? And people then feeling sorry for you. That is like, I can't even tell you. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself.
If you were to look at that from here now,
Yeah.
how would you say, what did, yeah.
At that time, I really thought that, so much bad was given to me, and it was
ऐसा
like
क्यों होता है, मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ?
kind of, I was blaming and complaining, and till I met Naeem Zamindar, and he said, and I said, but I feel so sad, and he said, well, that's all your ego. And I said, what? Like, how can that be ego, I mean, I'm sad because all these things have happened to me. And he said, yeah, it's self-pity.
क्या
Is
ego का ही नहीं
another
समझ में आता
form
ना हमें
of
कि that's ego, yeah.
And when I couldn't understand it at that time, but now I do. Because like victim जो है ना, सबको नचाता है.
बिल्कुल.
सबको नचाता है. वो पूरा अटेंशन अपने आप पर ले आता है, and everybody is dancing around the victim's tunes.
और लोग भी मजा लेते हैं ना फिर.
लोग मजा लेते हैं, but it's not for very long, and then they dump you, and you have yourself and your feelings to deal with, and you have to come out of it yourself. And nobody is there to haul you up.
So what's the best way to deal with it?
Okay, so the one aspect of coming out of a hole like that is, people say, is to, like, if you've lost a spouse or somebody, is to replace it by another person. That I cannot tell you how ridiculous that idea is. You cannot replace a person you've lost because and find happiness in that person. That's not, you need to find your own happiness, which is connected to your own inner self. And it's a lot of hard work, right? I mean, this is like a lifelong journey. Whereas thinking, oh, if I'm a divorcee now I'll find another man who will love me, is like a quick fix. There is no quick fix in life. You need to work really hard to find your happiness, and it's there. Like we discussed in the beginning of this podcast, it's like an onion, right?
Yeah.
It's an essence of ours. We have that essence of happiness, but we have layered it so much. It's going back to that essence takes a lot of time, because over the years you muddied it up. It's so much full of that, blueprint now of different people telling you things, what you should be and what you have understood yourself as. All that crap needs to just be peeled off. And it takes time,
Great. What was the last movie you saw?
I really don't remember, because the only time I watch movies is when I'm on a flight.
Okay.
But I remember this one movie called Sliding Doors.
That's an old movie.
It's a very old movie.
Yeah, and it has two scenarios, right?
Yeah, I just
amazing
love that.
movie.
I just love that movie
because you mentioned that. I love that movie.
I loved it.
It came
Gwyneth
out,
Paltrow.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow. It came out as something in mid-90s or sometime.
Yes, I will never forget it. I was in London at the time and I saw it on the screen, and I just loved it because it just gave me a scenario of how a split second
वो train वाले scene से कर सच है.
train से, how the life is completely different. So we've all lead our lives where we've made all these decisions, and every split of a second decision that we made is what we are right now. And so, don't blame A, B, and C. It's all here.
Yeah.
So simple.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps that's why this movie is so close to me.
Yeah, it's very close to me too. And I'm amazed that you mentioned this. Reminded me of the times that when I saw it, and the way I used to see it, and I would watch it again. I haven't seen it in 20 years.
We'll watch it together.
Sure, that would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah.
And what about the books, Naheed? Do you read books?
Yes, I do. I do read books, and but I'm trying to go through a Yoga Sutra book by Swami Vivekananda. So he was one of them who, with Krishnamacharya, revived the whole yogic philosophy.
And it's a huge book.
It's yeah,
बड़ी book है ये.
it's a slow read. So I am going through it like page by page.
But do you think that
But
books, this is the last century for the books? और books अब नहीं पढ़ी जाएंगी?
no, I think there will always be a market for, and the actual paper books, you know.
Yeah,
I
and I can't
yeah,
either. हाथ की feel
yeah, I don't
ज़रूरी है
like
ना?
Kindle at all. Yeah.
That's so much organic and natural. And then, do you think that AI would eventually take over us?
Yeah, I think so. And well, it's all over, you know, the news and what you read and what you hear people say about it. It is a bit, I just cause anxiety.
Have you explored
Yeah.
ChatGPT or things like that?
I don't go there at all. I don't have the need for it, and I don't want to put myself in more situations where my mind gets more cluttered. I think I like to keep my mind lean as possible, as less information inside there as possible. So I allow myself to do what I really like to do instead of keeping it so cluttered.
Okay, wonderful. Do you use social media and all?
I do actually. I have to admit, I love Instagram.
I do too. I mean, I love the
I
stories and
do.
scrolling through, and you get to see so much interesting stuff.
Yeah. Facebook, not so much. But Instagram, the reason I like it is because it has actually taught me everything. So during COVID, I was very bored. 10 days I had to be in isolation, and I picked up my paint brushes, and through Instagram, I found this teacher who taught me my first lesson in watercolors. And then from then on, I discovered so many more teachers. And all my classes that I've done are all online. And now, you know, I used to always wonder when would be the day I can paint as good as the teacher. And I'm pretty close now, you know. So it thanks to social media that I have been able to acquire it. The recent yoga training also I did was something that I came across on social media. So social media is not all bad.
Not at all.
Not at all, yeah.
There's so much to it.
There is.
On that note, Naheed, I would like to thank you, and I'm so happy that we did this.
I am too.
And thank you very much to coming to this podcast and having a heart-to-heart conversation. जिसको मैं लोगों को कहता हूँ ना, this is not a communication that we'll be doing. We'll be having a communion, and we did have a communion, and we got to find out so many interesting stuff, not about your journey, but also the things that you mentioned for our viewers or for anybody else. It's just so powerful and so amazing. I'm sure everybody would take a lesson or learning from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, it was a pleasure for me as well.
Thank you. And viewers, ये थी आज की हमारी पॉडकास्ट जिस पे हमारे साथ नाहीद माशूकुल्लाह, ज़बरदस्त पर्सनालिटी, जैसा कि आप लोगों ने सुना, देखा, उनकी स्टोरी सुनी, उनकी जर्नी सुनी, उनकी बातें सुनी, उनकी फ़िलासफ़ी सुनी, डिज़ाइन फ़िलासफ़ी सुनी. She is माशाल्लाह से so humble and equally blessed to be an ace architect, a great human being. आप हमारा पॉडकास्ट देखते रहिए, ऐसे लोग हमारे पॉडकास्ट पे आते रहेंगे, वो अपनी जर्नीज़ के बारे में बताते रहेंगे, जर्नी एंड ब्रिजिंग जेन एक्स टू जेन जी के बारे में बताते रहेंगे. आपको वो बातें तेरी चैनल की जानिब से नवीद फारूकी का आदाब
और नाहीद माशूकुल्लाह की तरफ से आदाब.